Every now and then, there is that moment my mind goes crazy. And in today's video, we're going to talk about a build that was exactly this, my mind going crazy. So recently, we found a new series on Netflix, Untamed, and that brought me back to my weird obsession with Yosemite. I mean, I built a whole zoo in that. But in this wonderful project, Splash Peak, we are going to do something else inspired by Yosemite. We already built a log flume, a natural slide, and a river rapids. That's kind of beautiful. But today we do something else. First of all, welcome to our sponsor channel, Instant Gaming. If you guys don't know Instant Gaming yet, what have you been doing? This is a platform where you can get game keys, in-game currencies, DLCs, whatever, for a very good value. They always have pretty nice offers and also giveaways and whatnot. Please check it out. Link is in the description. You can find all your favorite games, pre-orders, whatever, and you do help me directly by reaching my targets. So just make a moment of time, have a look if you find something for you suitable, and just clicky that linky and everyone will be happy, including you, because you save money. Anyways, we talk about this build today, and we are starting with a river rapids. Or actually, no, that's not a river rapids. That is actually going to be a little bit of a lazy river, but it's not going to work, so I'm going to change the entire thing later. I left it in to talk about this because many thanks to Taggy 3D. If you don't know the channel, again, what have you been doing? There is a linky in the description. I'm going to put it in again. This man is a wizard. Not sure why he's breaking the game currently in the best way possible, but he's figuring out the weirdest things to improve the experience in his game, and hopefully Frontier is taking notes again. So what he did, he basically created a crazy powerful wedge design of, you can see the pieces kind of to the left hand side of my build over here. These are these kind of, pizza slice pieces you can use to create a super nice looking river rapids. And due to the fact these are individual modules, if you then use the rounding tool, then the whole thing will be super roundy, super nicely detailed. You don't have these kind of weird edges that you normally get when you create this with a normal tool. So that's absolutely amazing, but you got to figure out that you do leave enough space to put in the jets over here, the lazy river jets, which I didn't in the first iteration I did. So yeah, anyways, that shall not be the main aspect of today's video. Today's video is going to be about this entire project, Splash Peak, which is a bit of a weird success, I must admit. It started as a one-off project with the kind of natural river raft flume I did, which kind of blew off, and people loved so much that you guys were asking to do more in this kind of North American timber kind of wood style, and I was like, yeah, why not? And so we continued this project, and honestly, it's been for the better, because I figured out a lot of techniques to build in this game and just figure out a lot more things about the nature and really good things. And now, there was a bit of a weird time between all the updates where I didn't spend that much time on this project because I focused more on the Hanseatic Dreamland. If you guys don't know, this is my other project in which I'm building a Hamburg Harbor inspired park, which is a bit more of a higher budget park that focuses a lot more on the kind of idea of being in a harbor. Anyways, this project over here has then been turned into a huge dome. As you can see, the dome structure is towering above us, but you will see this disappear during today's episode, and that is because I am reiterating if it's gonna be a dome of that thing in the in the full version. More about that later. But Yosemite, why are we doing this again? I mentioned that in the introduction. I have been, or actually I should say, me and my wife, we've been looking for a new series. We've kind of a couple of series on our list, but we wanted to do something else. And then all of a sudden on Netflix, there was like Untamed on the list. Like, we didn't really know what that was, but I was like, hey, let's play in Yosemite. Let's have a watch. And all it did for me was like just kind of clicking in all these inspiration I got during the build of Yosemite Valley Zoo. Again, for those of you who don't know, because a lot of people have joined the channel lately, you may not have seen this project. I'm going to link this, if I don't forget, I'm going to link this to the top right now. Yosemite Valley Zoo is one of the biggest projects I've ever done on the channel, and maybe one of the project that is the closest to my heart. Bit of trivia, 2018 I've been on honeymoon with my wife, and we were going to Hawaii and after that to California, to be more precise to San Francisco, and originally we planned to go into Yosemite as well, but we made the good old European naive mistake of misjudging the distances in the US. And so we figured, okay, that's going to be a bit of a, tight thing to, plan in the drive, which is a couple of hours actually to Yosemite and not an easy day trip. So we didn't do that. And till today, I'm very sad about that because there is so much I love about that from people telling me who've been there, but also from watching a lot of, series about this, documentaries and nature, wildlife, blah, blah. So really a place I've always wanted to go, but I didn't. So yeah, I wanted to kind of try to be there, at least in a digital way. And this is why I created the Yosemite Valley Zoo, which turned into one of the most successful series on the channel, which was kind of a huge community project. I loved it to bits. And well, this project over here, Splash Peak, from its orientation towards a bit of a North American kind of Timberwood style, just kind of fits the vibe of Yosemite super well. And I thought, you know what, there have been so many options lately to build something cool. I again took my main inspiration for building style from Yosemite Valley Zoo, which is the Yosemite Hotel. I don't know if it's called that way, but if you type in Yosemite Hotel, you're gonna find exactly that one hotel that the whole build today is based off on. I'm gonna put a picture in here if I don't forget. The problem is I'm always recording my voiceover and then I need to remember where to put the video images and blah blah what I've said, because my mind, I'm old, okay, forget things I've said 2 minutes ago. Hopefully I don't. Anyways, so yeah, that was the inspiration. But what I wanted to do is something that we were lacking desperately in this park. We had one raft flume, yes, and we also had two smaller flumes next to our log flume, and we have the river rapids. But we didn't really have a huge kind of slide area for families and teens and so on to be in. And this is exactly what we're doing over here. I wanted to do something really nice, winding, but also making use of the new slide mechanics. There's been so much new stuff I've not really making any great use of. And so I wanted to bring this all in here. And so these slides had to be made in a way that people don't crash out of it. So really making sure to use these kind of things. But also I wanted to make an area that feels a lot more kind of vibey and has a bit of more height differences and just kind of play a bit more with the options we have now in the game. Most specifically also with the options that the pathing gives us. You're going to see that towards the end. The time lapse today is relatively long, and we are still going to have an in-game element at the end. It's gonna be a rather long video because I did do so much and I completely was immersed, I should say, into my Yosemite story. And it is, like you've seen, there has not been a video this week other than this one now and the Jurassic World update. Because all my time went into that, and I was shocked because 8.5 hours went into only building that one area over here, which is honestly kind of a lot, because it's not unusual that I do put 8 to 10 hours in a video, but normally most of that is research and figuring out kind of the things and whatnot. But these 8 hours were pure building time, and I did already cut out 2 hours of figuring out to do my own wedge over here until I just figured out the way I wanted to do it. So as I said earlier, I needed to redo the lazy river. It's still not working properly, kind of. So if you guys have a tip what I'm doing wrong and what could be the cause for people not using the lazy river the way it is, please let me know in the comments down below. It's a bit of an odd one, I must admit. I also had a lot of people being in the pool and seemingly being on a, inflatable, but you couldn't see the inflatable. It was kind of invisible. If I can reproduce that in the real-time part, I'm gonna tell you. Also, to be a bit more transparent lately, I had a very good contact to Frontier with the latest update. So I figured a couple of issues with the early access and wrote this to the team, and they there's been a longer time of no real communication, I guess, and it was really good to get feedback that they looked into it and fixed this for the release, which I can say it's been fixed. I had a lot of issues with the ride photos, that they were not displaying certain things when a few coasters, if the coaster cars were too little, then I had the issue, and they fixed that for me, which was really great and kind of gave me a lot of hope for having the chance to address a lot of issues, which I'm going to do soon again. So if you have some things, please put it in the comments. I'm going to take out the most important ones and file them over to Frontier so they can have a look into that when it's going on. I have no info when there is going to be more stuff. I'm really thinking that maybe next week with the next Frontier Unlocked, we will get more info about the future. I'm fully fine that there's no update this month. Honestly, I've been relatively shocked by how much I've actually not really used from all the updates. Like, sure, there have been all the kind of updates in here, but I didn't really use most of them till this point because I've been working on so many different things and they were doing a lot of good things for us. But now I need to talk about what you see on screen, because this is a tip to be more efficient. And that's kind of funny because I said I put 8 hours into it and you may be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? But hear me out. So as you can see, there's a little jump over here. That was a bit too much figuring out. But what I do is I built my own kind of custom wall sets over here. You can see this relatively clearly. I built a couple of elements like this tower over here, for example. I built a couple of different variants of walls and doorways and windows and made sure that they're all nicely sunken in. And over here I'm just also going to try to make a bit of a wider door where I can sneak the path in, which is going to be the entrance to the slides. You know, I wanted to make sure that the towers and stuff are going to be hidden well in this kind of style over here, so making this really themed. I guess it kind of worked out pretty damn well. And another very nice kind of testament, I would say, to this game is, as this is very similar to the style I've been building in Planet Zoo, I kind of figured how much better Planet Coaster now is with all the scaling options and so on. It's very good to see how much of an advancement this game is, after all, with all the updates it just received so much. And also graphic-wise, how much better it is looking, apart from still having here and there a bit of the more too colorful appearance of this game. But specifically when you look at the lighting indoors and so on, and also in this kind of dome structure I've been building, again, I'm going to talk about that in a bit, it's looking so much better. Like, you know, shadows being more crisp and like actual shadows should be. Sun and lighting in the sun is more accurate to what it usually should be if you're looking at it. I wish it would be a bit more toned towards, you know, the realism aspect of Planet Zoo. I think that would be the biggest win for the whole game. If it all goes a bit more muted down and gets this bit more photorealistic look over the bit more colorful look, which I guess is intentional, yes, but like it would be good to have the option. I mean, we've got literally, the game now gives us the option for literally everything. You know, we can say whether we have realistic flume physics or not, whether we want to have coasters go through certain things or not, and so on and so forth. Like, there's a lot of different options we have, so why not get the same option for the visual appearance of the game? So for those of you who prefer colorfulness and poppy colors, just go with it. But for those of us who prefer the kind of realism, toned down look, we should have the option to just click it on. It's, at the end of the day, it's nothing else than a shader and a color kind of mix. So yeah, I don't know, whatever. Didn't want to talk about that too much. So what I'm doing right now is really trying to make the composition the composition of this area, which turned out to be a bit harder than I thought it was, because I did not pay that much attention to where certain things for the slides should go. I just went in and built a couple of slides how I wanted them to be. So at the end of the day, it just turned out to be a little bit more complicated for me to bring in the things to the areas I wanted them to. And yeah, what I usually don't do, but at this specific English hard language, specific build, it turned out to be necessary. I kept on doing certain things in between, like putting in a couple of beach chairs over here and how they're called? Sun lounges. Also a couple of other pools, the kids area I was planning, and so on, to get a better feel for the overall area in order to make sure I understand where I want to put in certain elements, just like, you know, the towers, and making sure to not block any areas, because I wanted to make this whole area from the front look very inviting and coherent and just complete. And again, that was one of my most intricate builds in Planet Coaster 2 so far, yet it doesn't even look like this, which sometimes it's just the case, you know, sometimes it's just taking longer for many things than you would think it is, because you want to get it right, and maybe because I have moved myself into a bit of a dead end by not paying attention to where I put the slides at the beginning. But you know, it turned out very great, so I'm not going to complain too much. I'm also using the rocks over here, the new ones. Actually, it's so new. They're not that new, but like the flexicolor rocks we have paired with this kind of temperate rock, mossy rock, to create like the very specific Yosemite-ish rock formations. You know, we've got El Capitan, we've got the Half Dome. Like there's like a lot of stone in there in Yosemite. So we're trying to drag a bit of inspiration from both of them. Not making necessarily exactly Half Dome like I did in the Yosemite Valley Zoo to make that kind of hero thingy. I also must admit, like, it made things a bit more easy for me that in Planet Zoo I made this whole valley park where I could play a bit more with the proportions. And I mean, obviously the Half Dome in there is still comparatively way too small if you compare that to the real one. But in a specific theme build over here, it was kind of hard for me to get the proportions right and making sure that in relation things are not looking too different. If you've noticed, I did try to bring in the force perspective a little bit by having the upper levels of my fake walls a little bit smaller and more squeezed together than the rest of it to make the building in its total appear taller than it actually is, to really play a bit with the options we have in this game and not making it appear too big overall. Yeah, I kind of like the result as it was at the end, but there is still a lot to improve, if you will. But yeah, as it took me so long, I needed to find this kind of moment now to bring this to an end, which is hilarious to say because we are not even halfway through the video yet. Which goes down to the fact that there was a lot of fixing to do. There was a lot of issues I had with assembling the building exactly the way I wanted it and making sure. I also did a lot of custom roofing, as you will see in a bit. I did do some cuts because otherwise the video, even sped up, would be over an hour. We don't want that. So yeah, it has been ridiculously fun to build, honestly. Sometimes if I spend so much time on one specific project, I get that problem that my mind is like, hey, can we do something else? You know, my brain is like, okay, we did this now for 5 hours. I'm happy, but now can I do something else? And if I have things that I'm so much into, then that doesn't happen. And this was one of these projects where it didn't happen. Anyways, while you see me assembling a couple of things and we are not yet there to talk about something else, let me take this moment to, for those of you still listening, thank you so much. You are the core people, and if you skipped here, well, you're caught now. You're not allowed to skip further. I saw you skipping here, so you'll be mine now. You'll be staying, okay? So don't click your way. I see you. Anyways, if you did so and you haven't checked out my instant gaming, please do so. I know it's kind of advertisement, blah, you know, it's sponsored, yes. However, I'm a big fan of the service. I've known this for a long time now, and they have always been offering great support. They've been always offering very much a friendly contact if there was anything problematic, you know, from either my my community having issues, some people having issues with the keys. They were really onto it, and you are going to save a lot of money, especially if you want to have Nintendo games. You know, I just recently also bought the new Tony Hawk's. Actually, it's not the new, but like the remaster of Tony Hawk's. I did buy this also via instant gaming because it's just so much cheaper, and Nintendo's prices are, well, kind of ridiculous, as we all know. And I highly recommend that. You guys, maybe you don't know that, so I thought I'm gonna implement that into the video right now. You don't pay anything more if you do that via my link. The only thing you do is you add to my counter of how many people have clicked my link and purchased over it. And this is like the counter I need to fulfill in order to have my agreement with them. And every single game you guys play, there's a tiny, tiny fee that goes onto my account as well, which depends on the amount of, like, the value, apparently, of the game you buy. So even if you buy like a small DLC, it's fine. It's not about the value. Just so you know, you don't have a disadvantage. Actually, in contrast, you do have a huge advantage of not paying too much, and also I have one. So it's a win-win for both of us if you do. And I just want to let you know. And you can't buy a game every single month. I do know. I just wanted to quickly talk about that. Now let's quickly talk about my most favorite thing in the world: pathing. No, I'm joking, but I wanted to just say that the pathing in this game is ridiculously powerful, I know, and it is amazing, and I think it is immensely improved over the old one. But there are still a couple of things I wish there were easier things to do. I kind of wanted to build a very subtle ramp over here until I figured that this is not going to go anywhere, simply because my height differences are too. Then I downloaded one of the pre-made ones from Taggy, which are amazing. And now I do a cut because, oh my goodness me, that was a lot of pain to do. Because it was all down to my stupidity. I did not pay attention to how much space I've left in this building. I just went on building this wonderful, huge area here, which I really do think looks beautiful. But yeah, space-wise, it was horrendous. And so at the end, I spent over an hour putting the pathing into the correct areas. You're going to see why in a bit, because I'm building some very tiny bridges here and there to make people cross over, making use of the invisible path now, to make it feel so much more natural. And honestly, I guess this is the biggest win in Planet Coaster without really knowing. The ability now to build areas that feel so natural, like having people actually use your scenery to the fullest now without making it feel forced, is so damn rewarding. If you now build a small hang-in bridge, for example, that you build out of individual little elements, have some free space in between, you could even make it moving if you want to by using the platforms. I wanted to, like, there is a bit of a testing going on in the background. I haven't been able to finish that now, but if you use some of the motors and counteract them so that you don't have a huge movement, which is like that little wobble, you can create an actually moving, like, hang-in bridge where people move over and it seems like if people walk on it, it just kind of moves. And you can do that like with the invisible path. That is so insanely rewarding. I can't. But then again, at the same time, and you see me hiding these things, you still cannot change the railings on platforms of Flumes. Like, stations and platforms are such a Frontier thing. It is beyond me. They give us the most powerful creative tools ever seen in a game. And then when it comes to stations and platforms, they're like, okay, you're gonna deal with this humongous piece of concrete that has no other use to be a connection for a tiny coaster track or a tiny Flume starting point. I don't get it. Frontier, please, why can we not have smaller variants of this? Or, if you're at it, why can we not just use the invisible path for that then instead, you know? I don't know. Like, it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's all fine. But sometimes it's like so weird. Yeah, then the typical kind of filling in all the gaps, as you can see over here. Don't mind me, it's not like the most realistic area indeed, because some of the distances between the slide and the scenery definitely isn't big enough. So if people would put their hands out, they may end up having a bit of a problem and maybe end up having broken limbs or whatever. It may happen, okay? Yeah, speaking about this, now this is the point where I'm creating this bridge, as I said earlier, with the wonderful tools to make the path actually being hidden. Yeah, it's, again, as I said, it's so rewarding. Like, this tiny little bridge over here, wouldn't have worked in Planet Coaster or Planet Zoo without the horrendous kind of 2-meter path trick, which always used to be a hassle. And yes, there was free build at the end in Planet Zoo, which has been a charm to do then. But still, since this wasn't actually an in-game feature, it always was kind of buggy, and now you have this as an in-game feature. I still don't really understand why Frontier isn't allowing us to create path 2 meter wide per default, because like you can build a 4 meter wide path, grab the sides and just move them to a 2 meter wide path, and there you go, and then just copy that piece over, just as I did over here. So I don't really understand why this isn't a feature anyways, but I wouldn't complain. It's like a little workaround, but it still works as intended, so that's all good. It's just so weird sometimes. You go 9 out of 10 steps and you just stop before the 10th step sometimes, and just don't know why. Hey, we are here to address it, and hopefully getting that 10th step at some day when we all know there would be 20 now. Anyways, it's just a joke, okay? So yeah, as you can see, I'm building this kind of bridge over here. For me personally, that was super important to get people moving across this entire area via more than just one path, and making sure there are a lot of height elevations in here, height changes to make it very interesting to look at, to make it also feel very much alive, you know? That's something I think is most often kind of, I don't know, forgotten is maybe the wrong word. Maybe people don't pay that much attention to it, but like these typical pool areas and so on, they are not fun if it's empty, and they are not fun if it's like, yeah, sometimes if you're like, I don't know, with a group of friends and you're like, don't minding everything else, like that can be fun. But usually these kind of areas also live by having a lot of people in there and just being a very much crowded space that is feeling super alive. It's part of the deal, you know, it's part of the experience. And so you have people moving around, that's just what it is. And so I just wanted to kind of make sure it feels all like that. And this is why I also created that kind of bridge over here and ramp that goes all the way in, making sure that I use the best possible yeah, tricks and tips here in order to make it invisible and then just still use that whole area. And I figured, like, if that area would be wet over here, that would be a death trap. People would be sliding down here, breaking everything. So I integrated some actual steps in here that if you go here barefoot, and I'm assuming that wouldn't be actual wood, this would be just painted kind of stuff that is anti-slip or whatever, because otherwise that would be a bit of a hazard. I don't know, that would be too dangerous. And I figured also we were lacking a couple of kid slides, like very tiny kid slides, like I'm mentioning my little one, the 4-year-old, and soon to have that little 7-month-old boy who's about to start crawling and maybe even trying his first little steps. You know, these people, these little tiny humans also need some fun. So I put in some little slides over here that you could start the whole process with. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with how that turned out. It's not like super crazy. I did notice then eventually that we don't really have that much options to create nice kids areas. Like, yes, I fully agree, there's a big need of having actually splash pads and, I don't know, kids play areas, kids fountains, like things that kids would interact with. In general, I think this is one of the few bigger areas that Planet Coaster 2 does not really address at all. I loved when Planet Zoo brought in the education tools for kids specifically. I think that was the first time ever in the Planet games that we did see a item specifically designed for kids and families in here, and I would love to see more of that in Planet Coaster 2 as well, having specifically designed items towards the kids or teens in this game, so that you can see kids playing with like little fountains or maybe with the splash pads, or having kind of, you know, we have the pirate theme back in, maybe like a tiny pirate wheel that they can turn around and water splashing out. I don't know, these kind of things to make it a bit more interactive and see the people actually using the pools other than just walking around like zombies at the moment at some point. So I'd love to see that. But yeah, you can see I'm doing a lot of things here to finishing this area up, and I honestly feel like it's looking super nice. But what I'm even talking about, let's have a look how it actually looks in game, shall we? So here we are with our look at the Yosemite Hotel in our wonderful pool area, and unfortunately there are a lot of things not working as I figured. I thought I'm gonna bring things together now, and I think I have to bring this park over to the wonderful Master Taggy, and he's gonna have a look into that, because otherwise I don't really see how I'm gonna fix this. So this pathway over here, seemingly perfectly fine, is not working. I'm going to show you why in a second. So we can actually move around pretty nicely. You know, we've like, don't mind these. We've got some very cool things over here. We can go into the back. You know, there's like a bit of a couple of things I need to do fixing with. But if we go in here, you can tell it's also, there's a roof missing. Where is it gone? Anyways, we can actually move up the stairs. Oh, wait, hold on. That was like something like this. How was that? Like, oh yeah, there you go. Now on a platform, you know, you can move up here. All is nice. You can even try that. Can I actually go down again? Yeah, there you go. Now I'm down. So this is the staircase I was actually going to look at. So here we go. We can go all the way up. Move through here. It's all, you know, not meant to be seen by the people anyways. We go over here, and with the camera, we don't really have an issue. You know, there's that, like, don't mind this because this is like just invisible. We go over. and we go all the way here. And as the camera should work, as the people should work, I don't really understand why it doesn't work. And no, it's not the width. I have tested that. I've made this like 4 meter wide and it still worked. I don't know. People don't just use it. And if I put them on here, they have a weird kind of problem by getting stuck. And it doesn't really make any major sense, if you ask me. So yeah, moving on, we can, as you can see, I can't move down or anything. You know that I can somehow I can jump. There was a way to jump down, but it doesn't work over here. But yeah, so let's move down the stairs again to show you a bit more around. I honestly, like, can we sneak? Yeah, we can also sneak out here. So this is the area. I'm very pleased with it. What I'm not really pleased is the river. It doesn't work. Like if we go into the pool, we can go for a little swim. You can see actually it should work, and you can see there are a lot of people in the back here. I tried to see if that's the problem, but what's going on here? Hold on, is that like the? Am I moved by... No, I'm not moved by the jetties. I thought I was moved by the jets. I'm not. People jump in here, and seemingly it works with the jets, you know. They're moved, as you can see. But no one... There's one person using an inflatable, finally. You know. Oh, more people. Finally! Okay, so at least something, but just for a very short amount of time. They're not using the lazy river whatsoever. So I didn't go on making scenery over here. I wish we would see people using that way more often. I want to have that chill dude go all the way around here and use that lazy river for what it actually is, but they all keep out jumping on here, which is not what I have intended for this entire area. You can see it's going to start to look very nice in here with our wonderful log flume on the other side, and we've got our natural raft over here, and then you can see this is the Yosemite Lodge. Let me jump out of this camera and give you a bit of an overview. Now, this project over here has been a dome. Let me just grab that one and bring it into its intended position, I should say. Something like this is fine. And so this is how it's all looking. The more I look at that, the more I have it is just absolutely horrendous. This is a structure way too big for what realistically would be. I mean, Dubai kind of realistic, it would work, but other than that, it wouldn't. So my current idea is to turn the whole thing into a kind of indoor park, but I'm going to build like a. Hold on, I'm just gonna move this even higher up because like I hate the shade for building is insanely annoying, so I don't have it put away. The entire central area will be transformed into like a pool area, and my idea is to put the whole thing into like a huge kind of hall, if you will, like an indoor hall, like seemingly a connection for that one. So what I'm also looking at is putting this area, for example, maybe outside, maybe have only this thing be inside as like our main inspiration for the inside area. I'm still insanely happy with how this thing turned out. It's looking so fantastic with the natural appeal of it, you know. Oh god, it just, that was a lot of work, but it was so worth it. But yeah, just putting that all into one big hall, maybe creating like a bit of an entrance in between here to not make it super big, because I want to bring this series to an end. Simply because, like, it's not like that I don't have the ideas, but I have ideas for different parks, and also there's only so much we could do with this project anymore. Like making an indoor pool area kind of is the thing we've done. I still need to do the station for the River Rapids, which I'm still doing, but like maybe max 2 episodes I've planned on this project. So yeah, the idea is really to make like a indoor park out of it, but not is in a dome, but actually like in a very nice indoor hall. Maybe it's like triangular kind of shape, maybe it's not, I don't know. I've several ideas. I definitely want to do more glassy roof to have less shade interrupting and interfering with the area. But I gotta admit that this area over here is something I'm very proud of, despite the fact it's not working as intended at the moment. Also way too much is going on in here. People walking through here instead of using it as a lazy river. I gotta figure out how to solve that. Again, maybe I'm gonna hand this over to Taggy and he can have a look. He's a madman when it comes to these kind of things. So yeah, again, maybe he can use. But also, speaking about this, you can see using these very narrow pathways over here just works fine. So I'm not even sure why that doesn't over here. Yes, they're more narrow, but they still should work. as you can see, with using the camera to walk there. But again, I won't mind this too much. So this is the area. Again, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of how the kind of slides I integrated in here. This tower, I wish to theme that a little bit more as well. You can see the slides over here all working pretty fine. I like this one with how much speed they come into the... God, that one is glued to the side. But how much speed they take and carry through over here is so nice, like how they kick into the water. Same goes with the other two, they have a very decent speed. This one over here is a bit of a moonshot. It's kind of very crazy to go down and have that insane speeds. I also love the fact how this slide over here proves how much more randomized the people are. As you can tell, how they, in which kind of orientation they end up over here. You've seen that one very much 90 degrees to the side, and we can have a look at the next one coming. They do have all different kind of orientations, as you can see, halfway to the back. Can you just go away here? Can I move you away? You are inside of my slide. Go away. This person, again, very similar because it's a woman. I think that was kind of a similar kind of weight maybe. But like if the next person comes, they sometimes are completely, there you can see it, completely the different way around. And this is the kind of randomized behavior I really need to see. Not sure why people still keep swimming through here. I should make this like an exit pool, but it's not. I still want them to be swimming in here. I wish to be able to separate the area, like having maybe an option to pull a rope here and say this is like kind of the exit for the slides. Do not swim here, and then have the rest of the pool be able to be swimming here. But yeah, no one really uses the river. And what I'm also very curious about is I do remember that with all these things over here, these jets. In the past, there was way more heavy influence on the water. You could really tell how the water has a flow, and it just kind of doesn't work anymore. I'm wondering, I've seen that, like if you, hold on, let's just quickly test that. Like if we go to pools and we create a custom one, and we do say we are going to use the jet slides on both rotations, repetition, more, and then we're just going to create this. Usually what that did, I'm not sure if we can see that now. Yeah, no, it's kind of gone. Like you could see on the surface that the water is flowing in one direction. I'm very certain that this was the case, but it seemingly isn't anymore. That is weird. That is definitely weird. Maybe that is a little issue they have and need to iron out with the next update. As I said, I'm gonna put a couple of things in the mail to Frontier. But yeah, so this, my friends, is the Yosemite Hotel slide area. I hope you enjoyed this update and this video as much as I did. It may not seem very finished and the final thingy, but trust me, that was a lot of work, and I'm very proud of it because like there's so much I needed to do in order to make it really be nice and work the way I wanted it to. Yeah, I'm just in general relatively proud of it, gonna admit. Can we just use our camera to have a nice view from over here maybe? Yeah, there you have it. Oh god, I love that. I love that. It's looking so fire. I'm looking at this area and I'm really pleased with it. Yes, it is not in the context as of now. It's not really where it needs to... Okay, excuse me, where am I? Can I jump on here? Oh my god, where did I move? I'm gone. I'm oh god. Game! I was just praising the game so much, and it's like, oh my god, you're not getting away with praising the game, my friend. Yeah, but so this is the area we've been working with today, and I'm very pleased with the outcome. As I said, the Yosemite Hotel area, the Yosemite slide area, maybe you get a better name than I have in the comments. I'm very much open to having input. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of today's build. Again, as I said, I'm very pleased with the result, despite the fact a couple of things not working. Maybe that just irons it out itself with the next update, I don't know. I'm not too keen on spending hours and hours to fix that, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, I guess, for the moment being. We have a lot of other things that do work, so I'm fine with this. But yeah, so I'm rambling, so let's bring this to an end. Hopefully you enjoyed this as much as I did. I would really love you to subscribe if you haven't already, and if not, that's all fine. Have a good time. Talk to you in the next one, and bye!